It's the November show with Craig from Cousins Cooling and Heating on the Queensway in Simcoe. Good to see you. How are you?
Great. How are you, Dave?
I cannot complain. The weather's still kind of okay, not bad. It's getting colder. Furnaces are kicking on. What do you want to talk about? Do you want to talk furnaces?
Yes, let's talk. Well, let's talk all heating products. But first and foremost, I always got to say thank you so much for having me. I love being on
That's
here, and it's always a pleasure. Yes. So, what I would like to take a second to talk about is anything that you use in your home as a heating appliance. I don't care if it's electric. I don't care if it's gas, if it's oil, if it's propane, whatever it is. Sadly, in my industry, we're starting off this cold snap in this winter and not a positive light. And what I mean by that is there's been two documented cases, one in Woodbridge, Ontario, and one in Burlington, Ontario, where homeowners did not get a maintenance done on their piece of equipment. In both cases, both homeowners ended up in the hospital on ventilators. This
what's going
routine,
on?
the CO was getting in the house
Oh,
because equipment, just like cars, you got to get an oil change, you got to get things checked. This equipment had gone so long without having that done that the homeowners, out of sight, out of mind. I get it, folks. I understand, no news is good news sometimes, right? Well, in this case here, both of these appliances, two separate scenarios, two separate companies, two separate, cities, both in Ontario, both had the same result. And that is where both the husband and the wife ended up in the hospital for more than 5 days on ventilators due to excessive CO poisoning. It,
let's take a minute, Craig, and just explain to the folks how that happens, because I don't think people are really aware of. Like you can get, obviously you can have your detectors, but
of
if you
course,
didn't have that, you wouldn't know, would you? It's odorless. You don't know.
correct. And I want to say first and foremost that people that get the CO and smoke detector combinations are great. Those are good things, folks. But I also do recommend to people to have a separate CO monitor. Most of the times when we see the CO and smoke detectors in our heads and our perceptions, we always have the CO or the smoke alarms up top in the ceiling. Well, by
Right.
the time the CO gets there, folks, you are in trouble.
It's
It
too
is
late.
too late and you are already asleep.
Good point.
Also, too, a lot of people put CO monitors in a general area. I recommend you put them by a furnace vent, a supply vent, not a return. Because if any
Oh,
CO is coming out, it's going to be on the ground, it's going to be right by that vent. Let it notify you as quickly as possible, as opposed to being on the opposite side of your beautiful, great, large living room. That by the time it gets there, it's too late. And that's simply what happened. The one case was due to improper venting, where just over time the venting had deteriorated to the point where it just started pouring into the home. And then the furnace was catching it through the return and blowing it up through the rest of the house to the point where sadly the homeowners went to sleep and did not wake up until they were found the next day at 4 p.m. in the afternoon. And luckily, the family members came by and they were in the hospital on a ventilator for over 5 days and then continued to be in the hospital for over another 6, is what the latest report has said. The next one was a 25-year-old furnace, sorry, 24 to be exact, and the heat exchanger had such a large crack in it that it was just blowing CO right into the house. And again, the monitors didn't catch it until it had filled the room, and by that time, the homeowner was unresponsive to the alarms. When the alarms went off after an extended period of time, it was the neighbors that came over and nobody was answering. They then called 911, which then transitioned into this. So they got him out. The local contractors, the last ones that were in the home, are under serious investigation of this. But what is not helpful is that the last time both of these contractors were in their home was almost 24 months ago.
okay.
So over
2 years.
2 years, their equipment had gone without being inspected, being looked at, being checked. So sadly, neither one of these is grounds for a contractor to be in trouble because of the time span that had gone on. It's like saying a mechanic's responsible for your vehicle. Well, he hasn't seen your car in 2 years. He doesn't know what it's been through, how often you've used it.
Obviously, it depends on the size of the house for the CO to take effect on someone. But is there a sort of a guide that you would say, like, is this a 5 to 10 hour thing depending on the size? Like, how much I guess is leaking in? There's so
Yeah,
many secondary, isn't there?
Exactly. No, 100%. It really depends on, how much is leaking in. It depends on, is it, in my mind, from my experience, the venting falling apart was worse because the
Right.
system itself is running saying, there's nothing wrong. I'm chugging away, chugging away, chugging away. And it's just constantly blowing, that CO right into the home. It's not venting out properly. So it's all different between the size of the home, the style of heating, what type of appliance it is. But fireplaces are another thing too to be sure because a lot of fireplaces, specifically the older models, and when I say older, pardon me, anything 10 years of age and older, use indoor air as combustion air. So it's already free drawing from in that home.
Right.
Well, if there's a blockage inside the vent, just a little bit, it's still got to exhaust that. And if it's not going that way, it's going to go back out the other way,
Yep.
right? And
That
it
makes
goes into the
sense.
home. And again, the scariest thing about this is as you mentioned, there's no smell, it's odorless, and you just get real sleepy real fast. And then all of a sudden, it gets to a point where, it's a little too late. So the point of all this, sadly, is that it is a bit of a scare. But it is something that people need to realize it is a real thing. And sadly, it's already happened twice this year in 2025 in Ontario here. It's real, folks. So please, whether it's a furnace, a fireplace, whatever it is, electric baseboards, things like that too. There was a case just outside of Delhi where there was an issue and it was an electrical baseboard, and it was just that the baseboard had sat for so long. And one of the responses from ESA, the Electrical Safety Authority, was had that have just had a solid vacuum once over to clean
Yeah.
the dust, the dander, the debris, and to move the stuff that was close to it away before heating, it could have saved all that. But what happened is all the material around it, the couches, the cushions, the drapes were so close that when it overheated and there was enough debris of dust and other stuff there that it kind of caused a small fire. Well, then that lit the big fire and that turned into a much bigger issue, right? Now, that one there was a safety thing. Everybody was fine, there, but these things are happening. So it's just a reminder, we're changing seasons. Be safe. Be safe.
I know this is not your area of expertise, but I'm going to ask anyway. The other one I always see that I think is a big, and I do it because we're like you guys. We have a lot of puppy doggies around here. Is the dryers? I'm constantly taking my dryer apart
Oh,
and cleaning it. It's just like an intake for all that. You know what I mean?
I couldn't agree more. That is definitely something too. And, and folks, even if it's electric, a lot of people say, oh, it's electric. I don't need to check my vent. Whether it's gas, electric, anything, you got to check them. And we all use it. It's very common. We use that flexible dryer
Yep.
pipe, right? Those are like speed bumps. As the air is coming out, it's catching and trapping all that lint, all that
Yeah.
dust, all that dander. Whether you have, you're like us with, half a zoo in your home, or you have no animals whatsoever, right? It's still a common thing, and it doesn't take much for them to overheat. It is, and safety is such a big concern.
Let's talk about safety for a minute. What can folks do? Like you talked about, getting in. I mean, I know you've always been a big advocate of, get your furnace checked over once a year, get it
Yeah.
ready for that season, and just sort of like obviously these two problems that you mentioned probably could have been avoided if there had been, I don't want to say an inspection, but I guess it kind of is, isn't it?
Yeah,
Just
maintenance
to
is
review everything.
exactly. Maintenance is an inspection. It's all the same there. But there is a lot of stuff that general homeowners can do. Check your furnace filter.
Yeah.
Make sure it's not too. And when you check that filter, don't just check the filter. Once you pull it out, look inside that little spot where the filter is at the return. Is there any dust or dander or debris in there too? Obviously, this is what we do every day, so we see extreme stuff. But I've got videos where even my guys pulled Easter eggs out of ductwork that the kids had dropped down, early from April at the end of the spring, right? So, I mean, it's just stuff which, that tiny little thing, which is funny, could unintentionally cause a problem. Check your supply vents and your return vents and make sure there's enough room for air to come out and for air to be taken in. Check your venting outside the home, whether it goes up through your roof or whether it goes outside. A couple of years ago, we had an issue, and what we were finding was unintentionally at the end of the workday, this was on a farm, the wheelbarrows were being put up beside the house,
Oh,
and these were the two vent pipes, and the wheelbarrow was covering right over top. So it
Yeah.
was a very inconsistent problem. And it wasn't until the homeowner looked at their Google Nest video and
Right.
saw that that's what was causing it, right?
Yeah.
And it was shutting off. So, yeah, just check your
Huh, that's
venting
an
outside,
interesting
make
one. I
sure it's
never
clear.
heard of that one.
Check your filters. Yeah, so just little stuff like that is all easy stuff that homeowners can do themselves. Now, if they're interested in getting a combustion analyzer, that is something that all trades guys have. But you can even check your own flue. Check the flue in the
Yeah.
furnace as it's coming out. Anything over 100 parts per million, we as contractors and licensed technicians are supposed to infract it. So you can take a look and see exactly how your system is flowing itself. And that's all part of what we do, and my good competitors do too. But these are just some things. Check your venting, check your registers, check your filters, and make sure that everything is clear.
Does it fall under your maintenance plan that you guys have?
Absolutely, it does.
Okay.
Yep, this is all part of it. And at the end of our maintenance plan, when we're done, we give you a sheet showing you the exact documents of what we found for the parts per million, how everything is running, what our voltages, our pressures are, what your gas is running at. Anyway, all that stuff is part of a maintenance and should be whether you deal with us or anybody else. And that's the peace of mind so that the stuff that I mentioned at the beginning of our talk doesn't happen. Both of those situations, without question, should have been and would have been found had a licensed technician come in to simply do a 149.99 maintenance on the system and do an inspection. Both of them. We're very, very thankful that neither one of those at this point in time was fatal. This is all information that gets passed to us through TSSA, and TSSA outright says we're giving you this information as kind of a scare tactic to remind you guys.
Yeah.
This is for us as the trades industries, but really we need to get the message out to the public because there are those simple things that we just discussed that homeowners can do without having a guy come in.
What's the scoop then on CO units? I'm just curious. I know we have one, but do a majority of people have them now, or are you guys still trying to push that message through that, hey, this is an important product to have in your home?
We're definitely still pushing it. I'm going to say a lot of people have them today, which is great, much better. But the ones that people buy today are the joint smoke alarm and CO, and those are great. But those are the ones that I get concerned about because by the time the CO gets there, it's usually too late. So it's still worth having one in a general area somewhere close by to a supply vent where the air is coming out. So, and closer to the ground. So that way it picks it up right away. Heaven forbid there ever be any issues.
It's an important aspect to talk about this time of year because, like you said, everybody's getting ready to turn the furnaces on and just awareness, right? I know this is you preach and I preach a lot of awareness. So, folks, just remember this. Craig's offering some free advice here. Be smart. Get your furnace checked before you fire that thing up because you don't want to be calling them December 24th.
No, and the other thing too is part of this. Just to add, I'm going to speak now for Norfolk County specifically because that's where we operate. Here we are in November, and year to date, we have already attended 4 houses to do our maintenances, and 4 of these houses we found critters inside the venting and in the vent
Really?
mode. Yep, little
Let's talk critters. What are you finding?
We found so far we found 3 chipmunks and 1 possum. And I got the pictures to show you, but they ain't pretty, so I'm not going to do that to you. But this is a thing, and something like that, by simply finding it and clearing that out, you just save yourself an $800 service call.
Yeah, and it's just
and that's not something that it requires a licensed technician to do, right? That's just general maintenance and wear and tear that anybody can do, and they're looking for homes too, guys.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I didn't even think about that. Thanks for doing this today. Always fun catching up with you, and good luck on your possum and chipmunk hunting. Hope you guys.
Thanks so much. It's always a pleasure to be here, Dave. Take care, everybody.